Staying put is what I meant to say. Thank you for staying with 95.1 Nigeria Info. How's your Thursday going? Great, awesome, fantastic. Is it productive or not one of your finest days during the week? It's all good. The day is still pretty young and a lot can look up. I'm always that person who sees things as half full, sounds like cliche, yeah? But it is going to turn out great at the end of the day. And thank you so much for staying on this frequency from the morning show, the late morning show, the sunny side show, and now Hard Facts with yours truly, Kimberly. Just call me Kim, the Oracle, the Digital Oracle, OTF, the Fellow, Ochanya One, Madam Speaker, and I will say yes to them all. And it's day 4 of the Tournament of Champion, day 4 of the I Beg to Differ debate. And after the big 3, which take us up to the top of the hour, 4 o'clock, we'll join the national studio for the debate. And we do have someone who's representing the federal capital in the debate today. I think the second batch of the debate would have Excel from Government Science Secondary School, Piakasa Meitama. And the first debate will have, debaters from the Lagos and Port Harcourt zones. And the second would have the Lagos and Abuja zone represented. So please be a part of it and give us your fair assessment. And I need to throw this in while I'm waiting for Mr. Emmanuel Ozoemena, my guest analyst, to join me on the show. I need to put this out because a lot of people, when we have competition of this nature, people are like, oh, this person sounded this way, this person sounded that way, this person was stuttering a lot. I need to remind you that there's a lot of things they consider beyond how smooth the delivery is or how enchanted you are by the debater and his presentation and all of that. There's a lot they look at. They look at your style, they look at your presentation. Most importantly, they look at your points that you made. And I need you to know that they have people who are fact-checking some of those points made. Now, some people say they will throw fact or throw data, and then they have a team who are quickly fact-checking to be sure that you're not putting erroneous information out there during your debate. And then if they find out that one of your facts doesn't hold up or the data you used or whatever, it's not factual, they deduct points. It means you did not make any point from there. You get a deduction for a misleading fact, no matter how smooth the presentation is. So I get to hear people who say, oh, I followed the debate. Man, this person, the delivery was smooth. You're looking at it from one aspect only. That carries point. But then the person can still lose point if you do not make a strong argument based on the points that you have presented, or if you give a false data, false information, no matter how smooth it was, and they find out, they are going to deduct. So I need you guys to understand that, please, as we go into day 4 of the debate. But so far, so good. It's been exhilarating. It's been fun. And I have just been thrilled by the younglings who have been debating. They have just been so incredible, honestly. All right, so let's see here. Mr. Emmanuel Ozoemena, let's find out, let you in. Okay, I want to believe he's joining us virtually for the conversation. So that's the reason for a little bit of the hold-up that we're experiencing. But there's several stories we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at the move by the federal government to put a hold, an embargo on the creation of new tertiary institutions for 7 years. They've approved 9 new private universities, and the number of universities, both public, private, is growing significantly in the country. And a lot of people are asking, are we funding them enough? Do we uphold standard enough, or we're just dealing with quantity and not quality at this point in time? So the federal government, in its wisdom, thought, might want to put a hold to all of this, creation of a new university, be it public or private, for 7 years, just inject more into standardizing the ones that we have, and then we'll go. So we'll take our guest opinion on that once he joins. Our Obasanjo Library demand 3.5 billion naira and a public apology from EFCC over the raid. Remember, we talked about it when they raided some spots in Abeokuta, and the premises of the Obasanjo Library also. They picked a handful of people, and the the body is putting a statement and demanding an apology that it makes them look bad, makes the management look bad, and all of that. So we'll get the detail of that once the guest joins us. And one of the big stories for this week, the Kwamwan and Comfort story. Well, we'll get Mr. Ozomena's position on the ambassadorial recognition that will be given to Kwamwan and the possibility of it even extended to Comfort. Perhaps maybe an ambassador of good behavior, Kwamwan, an ambassador of airport security. It just sounds too fancy, like your bad behavior is being rewarded with something. And even though the minister is saying, oh, we're not paying you, we're not expecting you to pay them. But aside that, it just feels like it's an elitist way of resolving these issues. And a lot of people have said, if not for Kwamwan, Comfort would have been in hot water at this point in time. Our saving grace is that we're still, grappling with what Kwamwan did, and then Comfort's situation did happen and all of that. So we'll touch on that. And if we do find the time, because already 50 minutes into the show, we'll touch on the approval for 142 billion for construction of ultra-modern bus terminal in 6 states. Let's go on a quick break and see if our guest is here. All right. I see a strong sign that he's joined us. And thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel. Good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Kim, and good afternoon, Nigeria.
All right. Thank you very much. You're live on 95.1 Nigeria Info, the Big Three, and we are ready to go. Your camera is in on though, so we can't see you, but if the audio is clear enough, that's good enough for us at this point in time. Let's start off on a light note, because this is one story that I'm sure Nigerians at this point are fatigued. They're tired of hearing and talking about it, and that's what happened at the airport, from the Lagos and the Abuja end of it, from Kwamwan to Comfort, from Value Jet to Ibom Air. And the resolution of the federal government to, at least let the case rest, and perhaps to, prevent a repeat of what they did from happening again. The federal government thought, quote unquote, in its wisdom, to recognize Kwamwan as an ambassador, an airport security ambassador. And he did mention on X that perhaps it might be extended to Comfort. We're not sure. It's not been confirmed just yet. Maybe an ambassador of good behavior if Ibom Air chooses to, which that is not confirmed. So we might want to leave that aside for now. But Kwamwan, a man who held up a plane from flying because of the content of his flask, a man who exhibited a behavior that perhaps would never have tried anywhere in the world, and got a 6-month ban, which was reduced to 1 after the appeal that he put out and consideration on the part of the government and the airline, to be seen as an ambassador of airport security. Do you think it's a good move by the federal government to do that? I mean, some people are saying it's rewarding bad behavior, and others are saying perhaps he will use this massive platform because he's an influential individual. He's got massive following. He might just use that platform to educate people, put a song or two, put things on social media to educate Nigerians, sensitize them on how to behave when faced with any kind of situation at the airport. What do you think?
Well, I think my immediate reaction to it yesterday, when the Minister of Aviation, Festus Kayamo, ICM, said it, was perhaps, I don't know his intentions, but I think, could it be that on one is paying back to the society? I mean, some sort of, you could say, restitution. that could be in form of a restitution, because in the US, you could have a suspended sentence and they now ask you for the next 6 months or for the next 1 year, you should be sweeping the city hall, or you should be sweeping an orphanage, a designated orphanage, and all that. So if that is a social restitution, perhaps that would be the way to go. If you say one is got quite a lot of massive following, and now the Federal Airport Authority and other agencies in the airports, like we said last week, should embark on sensitization on what are the acceptable code of conduct for airport users, because they need to. This has shown there's need to increase that public awareness to ensure that Nigerians are on the same page with what obtains internationally. Very, very important, because what it does to us is going to help us becomes what they call fit for use, or global practices, if you may, because they are basic standards at every airport all over the world, and those standards are not in Nigeria, are not designed by Nigeria, but by International Aviation Civil Organization, ICAO. So I think that's what they call it. So let's take it that he's doing social restitution. He's restituting to a society that he has wronged. I think that's the way I would want to see it. Even though the Honorable Minister of Aviation never used this term, but in my mind, I'm saying perhaps the social restitution. Let him go there, pass on the message of how to behave at the airport, what are the acceptable conduct at the airport, what you can take in and what you shouldn't take in, liquid content and what have you. But let's see how it goes.
All right, indeed. Well, Nigerians, it depends on who you ask. Some are not comfortable with it. Others have accepted it and didn't expect anything much to come out of it in the first instance. So this isn't much of a surprise. All right, we're live on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, at Nigeria Info Abuja. On YouTube, same, at Nigeria Info Abuja. And you can tweet at Nigeria Info ABJ. That's our X handle. Agadas Vic, we see you. Watching for Mama G Junction, Pape, and also Francis Namani from Enugu State. We see you. Thank you very much for joining us. And John Bulus, good afternoon to you also. Thank you very much for joining the conversation. Now, moving on to the next story, which is one that it's quite an interesting one, really. The position of the federal government approving 9 new universities, and in the same breath saying, I think we've done too much of the approval for now. We need to put a hold to it for a bit. The federal government approved the establishment of 9 new private universities across the country. The Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, announced the approval on Wednesday while briefing State House correspondent after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He said the new approved institution at Tazkia University, Kaduna State, Leadership University in Abuja State, Jimo Babalola University, Kwara State, Bridget University, Mbise Imo State, Greenland University in Jigawa State, Jeffab University in Niger State, Azion Verde University in Imo State, Unique Open University, Lagos State, and American Open University in Ogun State. And disclosed that Tinubu administration inherited 551 pending requests for the establishment of tertiary institutions which are subjected to stricter approval guideline. This, he said, reduced the list to 79 active applications, out of which 9 were cleared on Wednesday. I went on to explain that many of the approved universities have been waiting accreditation for over 6 years, with their promoters having already built campuses and invested billions of naira. Now, due to inefficiencies within the NUC, approvals were delayed. We have since introduced reform to streamline these processes, and today, approval are a result of clearing this backlog, Alausa said, and added that the federal government has placed a moratorium on new application for private universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education, except those meeting the new operational standard for now. So let's start off with it. I mean, the list of universities growing in the country. Is it something you're comfortable with? I mean, let's go as many private universities as we can find, as many federal universities or government-owned universities as we can, approve, and as long as they meet standard, hopefully. But what's your take on it first off, before we look at the embargo for now, looking at stricter approval guideline that the government is talking about. But we're just going to very, very, very short commercial, and then we'll take your response afterwards. Stay with us.
Gents, this is the way.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.
Hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
Audio
Owned and private universities dominate them, and 9 new private universities have been approved by the federal government. However, the government announced a stop to establishment of more federal universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. It announced a 7-year moratorium on the establishment of new institutions, high institutions, that is. And it's simple. It's to halt the unchecked proliferation of underutilized institutions, which has led to inefficiencies, poor infrastructure, inadequate staffing, and declining student enrollment across the country's federal tertiary education system. So more people apparently are gravitating towards the private universities, it seems like. The Minister of Education, Dr. Maruf Lausa, who briefed State House correspondent at the end of the FEC meeting, presided over by the president, explained the access to tertiary education in Nigeria is no longer a major issue at the moment because we have enough of them. So, Mr. Izamena, starting with the number that we have and then the moratorium that is placed for 7 years, do you think there's a conflict of interest and policies here?
My response to this is clear. We need to rethink higher education in Nigeria. As the first point. Why do we need to rethink it? I think somewhere along the line, we seem to have mixed the points on what purpose does the higher education serve in a society. I mean, the first set of what you call first generation university, University College Ibadan, University of Nigeria Nsukka, University of Lagos, University of Ife, and ABU. Were the first generation university. By 1960, by 1970, University of Benin joined. Then between 75 and 78, what you call second generation universities emerged. Initially, there were campuses of existing universities, Port Harcourt, Jos, Kanu, and what have you. And today, at the moment, I think the data on the universities in Nigeria puts it at 298 universities, and then you now have 295 polytechnics. and then you now have 219 colleges of education. So you have a total of 800 and over 812 institutions in Nigeria, both owned by the public institutions and private institutions. When I say we need to rethink it, let's take it this way. In the issue of admission to JAMB, in I think about 4 or 5 years ago on this show, where an analysis released by JAMB showed that apart from Covenant University at Ota, no private university got up to 600 applications out of almost 2 million applications. You have an average of 2 million applications per year. And I think Covenant that year had less than 400 or a little bit over 400. And there was a university somewhere in the Northeast, Taraba State precisely, that a private university that had, I think, about 4 applications.
Yeah.
4 people using them. And the minister went on to say 199 universities had less than 100 applications. So when I say we need to rethink it, what I think we would do if we are a serious people, first, the 9 new universities that were approved shouldn't have been approved, to demonstrate that commitment. Because being additional 9, I am not saying you're putting moratorium, for me it doesn't make sense. That's number 1. Number 2, we need to rethink, do we need a centralized admission system in Nigeria? JAMB was set up, for instance, in 1978. And the purpose of setting up JAMB was simple, because you had less than 16 universities at that point in time. As at 1978, you had 16 universities, and you had so much struggle for space, what you call access to higher education, to universities. And that was why it was set up. And now you have expanded their role or their function to include colleges of education and polytechnics. So now they manage 812 various institutions. Now, if you have 812 institutions in Nigeria with a population of an average of 235 million people as at today, that's the estimated population of Nigeria. Now, if you are having 2 million applications per year, if you allow these universities to go to the field, market their school, market their admission, you have a regulatory body called NUC. NUC can set up a standard unit or directorate that will set standards for admission into universities. You don't need JAMB. You don't need to centralize it. Each university can go ahead and do their own admissions. Even now, you have a centralized admission system. Still take what they call post-UME. So if you actually, that's a duplication of function. What it simply means is that the JAMB has, at least they are relevant. If you have almost 812 institutions, there's no need. Everybody has agreed access is no longer the issue. Okay, let's do it. 2 million divided by 812. What does it give us? It means that everybody who starts for JAMB, who has the basic qualifications, should get an admission. Because the moment you admit, at the moment, JAMB admits about 10%, not more than 10% of the total applications. So every year, you have an additional added number to the number who are already waiting. For countries that function, the issue of centralized matriculation came from the UK. As we speak today, what you call then when you take Cambridge, they say Cambridge with matriculation means you have an admission to either Kurabet College in Freetown, Sierra Leone, or you have been at Kimota College in Ghana, or you're going to Yaba College, or you're going to University College Ibadan. Cambridge with matriculation means you have an admission to a higher institution. But today, Britain that gave us this no longer have a centralized admission system. If you want to go to Cambridge, you pick up Cambridge form and fill it.
Specifically, yeah.
Feels that they should do an exam for you or whatever qualification processes. They set it. The governing council of Cambridge set their qualifying process for admission. If you want to go to Harvard now, you can.
But seeing that, hello, Mr. Ezamena, sorry to interject. Seeing that we're still dealing with standard issues, we understand that we're not at par with those Ivy League institutions that you're comparing at the moment. We still have a case where if you do have proliferation,
UK that gave you centralized matriculation system or admission system has seen that it no longer works, because as of today, the universities we have in UK have expanded in numbers. But we are still keeping it. You remember last week, I talked about UK governors left us with colonial rules. We are still keeping those colonial rules. But UK has moved on. I'm just speaking, in the US, they have over 4,000 universities. There's no admission, whatever. Each school set their process for admission. But if you're dealing with standard, like you said, I said just a directorate in National Universities Commission that should set the standard. You don't need to centralize it. If you
but we know that
the waste of resources and energy.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was saying that wouldn't it cost some university? I mean, we already talked about some private university that the entry, whatever, was just 4 compared to other institutions that people are falling over themselves to get in there at this point in time. Would it not create even more disparity?
To that. No, the problem is this. Then the second problem is that the people who are setting up private universities in Nigeria, each time they are given the license, they think they have an oil block. But that is not true. Education system is not an oil block. They need to get that into their head. Education system is actually for philanthropy. You want to give back to the society. It's not an oil block. But in Nigeria, I have a license for universities. I'm getting those licenses. There are people who don't even understand what university education is. That's the truth. Ask me why. In the US, what you call Harvard University, Yale, Princeton, they're either a private school or set up by a non-profit. So perhaps we might need to expand a new law or make a new law, enact a new law that it's only non-profit that are committed to the growth of the society that should be given license to set up universities. I remember in 1998, as a journalist, I attended a function at National University Commission when the first 4 private universities were given licenses. Okada University, Madonna University, Okija. I think there was a heritage university that was meant to be in Kaduna, and one other university. 4 private universities. That was towards the end of Absalami Abubakar's General Absalami Abubakar's administration. But today the thing has expanded. People think I'm setting up a university because I want to make money. It's not. And that's how private secondary schools and primary schools filled everywhere. So the first thing to do is, where is even the idea of university? Where did it come from? Like I said the other just a week ago, university learning, what you call learning or studying a discipline, came from Plato. It's a Greek system where you learn under a master. And they say, these people belong to Plato, these people belong to Socrates, these people belong to another philosopher, or whatever. That's the essence, that's the beginning of the university. And what you call certification means that if you go to a city, they say, him belongs to the University of Jos, botany or economics or what have you. So that's what the university education is. That's where you talk about standard. What I think we need to do, we need to rethink a centralized admission system. If you ask me, at this point in time, we don't need it. Then the people who have been fortunate to be granted licenses for university should know what they need to do.
All right.
What sustains Harvard as we speak today is endowment. The volume of endowment that Harvard has, in their bulk of it, those endowments for in perpetuity. So people who have money, instead of setting up a new university, should go and take up endowment. Say, I'm endowing the Department of Economics in ABU that every year 10 students or 1,000 students or 100 students should be given scholarship. That's how universities function elsewhere.
All right.
The money the University of Harvard has in their endowment is what keeps them.
Okay.
It's not school fees.
So
this cannot keep any school.
So right now we need to get off, our feet off the pedal when it comes to approving new universities and recalibrate. You quite agree with that move. All right then. Let's get some of the reactions quickly before we get to the next story. Someone says Nigerians' focus should be on improving existing schools rather than establishing new ones. The recent ban on new federal universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education is a step in the right direction. The Kwan 1 versus Comfort saga highlights selective justice and bias, emphasizing the need for equal application of the law. If not for the way Kwan 1 was favorably judged and the outcry of Nigerians, Comfort might be languishing in Kirikiri prison. The idea of making or appointing Kwan 1 as whatever ambassador is absolutely unreasonable. Is akin to rewarding bad behavior in public, says Hamzi. All right, thank you very much for that, Hamzi. And we'll just get to the next story. Let's hear this caller. Hello. All right, then. Let's get to... Sorry for that. Before I take more calls, please, let's just look at this one story. Mr. Ozomina, are you with me?
Yes, I'm there.
So the management of the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library has demanded 3.5 billion naira in compensation and a public apology from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, over the alleged invasion of its premises on Sunday. Operatives of the EFCC reportedly stormed the library premises, arresting 93 suspected internet fraudsters, seizing 18 vehicles and several mobile phones. Now, speaking during a press briefing at Abeokuta, Ogun State capital yesterday actually, Vitalis Otese, managing director of the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library, described the action of the agency's operative as unlawful and a direct assault on everything the institution stands for. He said the action of the operative was an apparent invasion of private property, an infringement of OOPL's right as a corporate citizen, and a stark and blatant violation of the right of the people who gathered for the event. According to him, the invasion was an assault on what the institution stands for, an assault on every rule of law that should be the guiding rail for democracy. They demand comprehensive investigation into the incident, with report openly published and a public apology published in major newspapers. That immediate restitution of the damage caused be made to those persons who were arrested and whose vehicles were carted away by the invasion force of the police and the EFCC, as well as for bodily injuries suffered by these persons, numbering at about 100, be paid in the amount of at least 1 billion naira. They also demanded for the 2.5 billion to be paid in token acknowledgement and atonement for the immense damage caused to the reputation, the business and financial reputation, as well as to the reputation of the chief promoter, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. Otese expressed concern over the lack of coordination and glaring lack of interagency collaboration, saying the police officers stormed the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library premises were not respected, or the police who were stationed there, I beg your pardon, were not respected nor included in the operation, and said that the management would not hesitate to seek legal redress if the demands were not met within 7 days beginning from yesterday. Families and international tourists were holidaying, entrepreneurs were conducting business, youth were organizing musical shows and entertainment events. These are the very expression of creativity and productivity we're meant to encourage, not criminalize. The indiscretion displayed by the operation created an aura of fear among youth who are striving to earn legitimate income. So this was a story we reported when it broke on Monday, where EFCC stormed this area and said they suspected the youths who were having that event there of all kinds of, cyber crime and all whatnot, and took quite a number of them, their mobile phone, their vehicles, and all of that. It was greeted with a lot of outcry, but this is the position of the library to saying, how dare you? And they were doing something legitimate. But then if the EFCC is saying they acted on intelligence to know that there was some cyber crime, Yahoo business underground happening, Could it be also the approach or the style, the modus operandi of the EFCC that is to be faulted at this point here? Because it was a show. It was on social media. I mean, at night, the style at which they approached it, it did send chills down the spine of quite a number of people too. But what do you think, sir?
Yeah, first, if the Obasanjo Presidential Library is a corporate entity, they have a right to seek redress at any point in time they feel that their rights have been infringed on. Like in this case, they are saying, look, we had a legitimate event and the event was advertised. And I mean, the community, even where the library is situated, is aware. Did EFCC get any intelligence or that something untoward was going to happen there, or there were some people they were looking for that they could get there, or whatever it is? But I think from the position of the Obasanjo Presidential Library, they felt, look, we should have been given a benefit of doubt to, if there was a need to have asked, oh, do you have an event at so and so? Because there's no way, for instance, the police within the area where the Presidential Library is located in Abeokuta. I know the Presidential Library have been around there several times for programs. So the question to ask is, was the police command in that area not informed? I'm sure they should have been aware that there will be an event around the area. So I think perhaps if EFCC had acted without full information, they need to clearly respond to the former president and the presidential Obasanjo Presidential Library, as an institution. Well, I think this is a notice. This clearly is a notice from their lawyer. Let's see the response of EFCC. They have about 7 days to respond. Let's see how it goes. But this also tells us, are there some lessons to learn? Why the invasion? Was it a hasty invasion? Perhaps in the coming days, we should be able to have better and full information by the time EFCC responds on this matter. And let's see where it goes to. But for now, this is the position of the Obasanjo Presidential Library and President Obasanjo, and then the people who were, affected by the invasion. Let's see how it flows, because it's looking like what may finally evolve into a full legal battle in the court. And let's see how the court will handle it, assuming the mediation or out-of-court settlement or arbitration do not solve it at this point in time. Let's see how it evolves. But that also shows you how rule of law, operates in a country. Incidentally, President Olusegun Obasanjo set up or established the EFCC. That was in 2003, 2004. And, let's see how they manage these processes.
Indeed.
But it's an interesting, if you ask me, that's a democracy in action.
Indeed it is. Indeed. Okay, Ibrahim says, good afternoon. What Kwamwan did in the airport is a complete act of terrorism, which is treasonable felony. Instead of punishing him according to the law, he's been rewarded with this ambassadorial status. And Dan, we see you. Thank you very much. Now let's take some feedback. 0700 951 0000. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. My name is Abdul calling from...
Abdul, let me just confirm that our guest can hear you. Mr. Emmanuel, can you hear Abdul? All right, go ahead, Abdul.
Yeah, clearly.
Actually, I agree with your own guest today on the respect of education in Nigeria. It started from 1999 that we start democratic dispensation due to the negligence of the authority in the system of government to make sure they put things in order. That is the reason why even our own democracy, the foundation is shaky. Just recently, take a look at what happened in the United States of America just last week. Mr. Trump, he took over the security of the federal, where he is, the capital where he is. He has a reason because of security. But opposition, they may think is going to be dictatorship on the respect of what he did. Is when we are ready, until when we start getting ready to start putting things in order,
Yeah.
before things will be okay. Without that, we are going to waste our time.
All right.
5 years of democratic dispensation, up to now, we haven't been able to put our own education, the university that we have, to make them to be qualitative one.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Private. Thank you very much. Keep doing what you are doing and doing it very well.
Thank you very much. Stephen Trust Dusu, we see you. Clems, I greet you also. Kingsley Erewa is watching live from Gwarimpa. Thank you very much. And Hafsa Mazu, we see you also. Hello. Oops, sorry about that. I kept you waiting for a bit. You can also call via WhatsApp, which is 0809-993-0137 to share your take. Okay, Brian, I think you sent your message already on YouTube, so I might as well skip the one you sent via WhatsApp. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, Kim. How are you?
Fine and well.
My name is Comrade Salis on the line.
Go ahead, comrade.
Yeah, for me, EFCC, they are entity of federal government. Is it Obasanjo Labra above the law? That when EFCC want to operate, they should inform you when the criminal is inside the library. They should inform you before they call. What if something is getting wrong? It's another place. Like another place, they are doing something. They need to inform everybody before they can enter there and arrest. When they put this country in this way, that means they are bringing Nigeria democracy down. The criminals are going to hide under everything in this country to do anything they want to do. The FCC are fighting, and as a president, even if he's the one that bring the FCC on board, is it the one? Is it want to bring them down? Is it to support them to fight crime or to bring them down? What is the meaning of that? So I want you to demand to explain to me. Do you have that right?
All right.
To question this AFCC.
All right, thank you very much. So, Mr. Zamena, his question is, should the former president receive any special status because it's his presidential library? You say you need to be given heads up, you need to be informed before a raid is to happen. Equating with an average individual or an average organization to saying, what is the standard operational style of the FCC? Should people be getting special notification? But in some instances, the areas you go to, there'll be some kind of, it depends if it's an arrest or warrant of some sort, or SAT warrant also, which some people have called for, and the time of day you operate will determine if that is required or not. But you get to respond to that in a bit. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, welcome.
Bora.
Welcome.
I greet you.
I greet you too.
Good evening, Mr. Zamana. Jonathan is calling from Niger State. Chief servant to Bishop for the masses. I just want to ask a question. Almost 800 and something high institutions we have been given to the society what we want. You understand? Creating almost 9 high institutions is not the solution. Some people have been on strike for almost 8 months during Baba Buhari, the lecturers. Nobody paid them up to date. You understand? And the students going to some of these schools, they are not giving back to the society what we want. To me, I think university is just like a place you make a research and discover and give back to the society and create an environment on your own. But it's not like that. Why is it so? That's my take. Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria. Thank you very much. And Tom from Gwarimpa says, I totally condemn the seemingly unruly behavior of the Akwa Ibom Air passenger, but why should a punishment surpass Kwanwan's unruly display? In any case, the Akwa Ibom Air crew member treat towards, I think we've moved past this line of the conversation to something else. But Tom from Gwarimpa, I appreciate your input. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're welcome.
And I greet our guest. Donald from Niger State, I greet you, and Comrade Salisu. I want to talk about the EFCC, raiding Obasanjo Library and so on and so forth. Yes, I think the way sometimes they operate, if I think they just talk of warrant and something like that for that nature. If they were to arrest, if they can't just, I watched a video of a woman, how EFCC go to her house in the midnight. They started breaking the doors, and at the end, they couldn't get anything. they started apologizing. So if they are to do that, they should do that with a sense of belonging. How about the former Accountant General of Federation, Idris Ahmed, that allegedly stole 109 billion? This man is still enjoying with his family. How about the Nigerian air? They deceive Nigerians. They bring in aircraft. The aircraft disappear. And still up to now, these people are still enjoying. Is the eagle looking one side?
All right. Thank you very much, Selassie. And let's see. Let's take this one quickly. If you can do it in 30 seconds before commercial, I'll be grateful. Hello.
Hello, my name is Abubakar.
Welcome, Abubakar.
Yeah, I think those the lawyers to the former president, I think they are too fast. What I expected them to do is to try and see those people that are arrested. After profiling them, how many of them are actually guilty of the offense?
Okay, let's go on a quick break, and we hear. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, maybe I can hold on.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You just finish your thought and go on the break.
If they have been profiling, if the percentage of people that are guilty are, based on, because this is an intelligence operation. And for a sitting president, a former president should know that he should separate his phone, his library. And for the kind of event that is happening, if the people that are arrested, most of them are guilty of this crime, I think the operation is successful. The lawyer can liaise with those people that are arrested. After the investigation of the FCC, they get to them. Okay, if they are not guilty of the alleged crime, they can now sue for call for all this way.
All right.
They want to sue the federal government.
All right.
On the issue of Kwan One, I'm very sorry. Let me round off, the issue of Kwan One. Look, giving an aviation security ambassador, this man has a follower. Nobody is above mistake.
All right, sir.
Yeah, so for that, I think it's a good thing. He can actually convert and actually.
All right, thank you.
Protocols of what needs to be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Oops, and the commercial itself is misbehaving. All right, let's go to Mr. Ozome now because we have about 3 minutes to wrap this up. Any takes, sir?
Yeah, I think the clear thing I would say for any former president anywhere in the world is still part of the system. Former presidents, I know in the US, you receive intelligence reports on a weekly basis, and there's what you call basic protocol and respect, decorum, to the office of a former president. I'm sure you still know as a former president, you earn salary. There's an office, I think, in the office of the Secretary to the Government of Federation that manages the affairs of the former president and vice president. So President Obasanjo, perhaps, he has just expressed his reaction to what he calls the invasion of the presidential library at Abeokuta. And he has every right, like I said, the presidential library is registered as a corporate entity. So that's why they are now saying, look, there are 3 complainants in this case now. You have the presidential, Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library. You have the guests who are now seen as a collective now, as well as the former president. They are asking for restitution to what they think is an impact, damage to their reputation and what have you, and damage to properties. That's what they are asking the entire money. Let's see how EFCC responds. And if I'm sure after 7 days, the next option that will left for them would be to head to the court, and let's see how the court treats it. You know, when someone is arrested, he's assumed to be innocent until proven guilty. That's another part of our law currently. So what is there is that the former president is expressing his right, one as a citizen of Nigeria, and say, look, I have a right to seek redress.
All right.
On the issue for me, that's clearly my response. But I think another thing we also need to do, there are some states that have about 3-4 universities. Perhaps a more creative way of managing it is simply to merge these universities for effectiveness. Simply call it campuses. I mean, if you go to the US, University of California have several campuses across various cities in California. I mean, we need to rethink higher education in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Azamuna. I appreciate your time on the show.
This is an announcement. Do you want to learn and make
pleasure.
money from real estate in Abuja and its environs? Would you like to make...
This is Nigeria Info.